Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this edition of GAP AI Talks 2026. On behalf of Growth Acceleration Partners, we're excited to host today's conversation, the AI Investment Dilemma from Hype to Enduring Value. Over the next 45 minutes, you will hear an exceptional panel of business leaders sharing real-world lessons from their AI journeys in recognition of Women History Month. We are especially proud to feature women leaders who are shaping how AI is built and governed in today's enterprises. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we will address them during or at the end of the session. And with that, I will hand it over to our moderator, Jocelyn Sexton, GAP's VP of Marketing, who will introduce our panelists and lead the discussion.
Awesome. Thank you, Lola, and welcome everybody is on the podcast. So it's my privilege to moderate today and try to keep us on time. We have three exceptional panelists as we celebrate the end of Women's History Month here in March. I'm first going to introduce Bridget Farland. She is the VP of Applied AI at DEPT. We also have Fern Johnson, who is the former CTO and VP of Infrastructure and Operations at PepsiCo. And then our CEO and co-founder at Growth Acceleration Partners, Joyce Durst. Bridget, do you want to start and give a brief introduction to yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's really great to be here and exciting to be on this panel. I'm Bridget. I have over 20 years of what I would call innovation and, it's a daunting word, but digital transformation experience. I started my career in e-commerce and Gen 1 e-commerce experiences, moved to social commerce, and then moved into machine learning and now AI in my career. And you'll hear this today, but I see a lot of similar opportunities, mistakes, challenges. So it's a little bit like the same movie, but with better production value.
Okay, Fern, you want to give us a brief intro?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good day, everyone. It's so good to be here. And so thank you for having me and being on this esteemed panel with this wonderful woman and really just taking a space for us to be celebrated and talk about this topic during Women's History Month. So thank you for that first from GAP. So former CTO Vice President at PepsiCo. I was at PepsiCo for 33 years. Which was just about my entire career. I went to Pepsi 6 months after university, and I've really been all over the gamut of technology. While not a developer, I'd started infrastructure, I've done HR systems, I've done data center operations, SAP, project management, I went global. And my last capacity, ran the infrastructure in all of our sectors across the globe. And that was a wonderful opportunity to really be in front of how to keep the business operational at PepsiCo. And so, yeah, happy to be here and talk about how this AI journey is taking over the world.
Thank you, Fern. And Joyce, do you want to give a brief intro?
Sure, thanks. And thank you, Fern and Bridget, for being here. I'm so excited to be in this conversation with you guys. For me, I'm, as Jocelyn said, the founder of Growth Acceleration Partners, which I founded 19 years and 3 months ago. And that rounds out my kind of just over 40 years in technology. I'm actually a computer engineer by education, which technology doesn't look anything at all like it did when I studied it. But I've had the opportunity to work as executive in very large companies and the founder of much smaller companies. And as part of that journey, as we're going to talk about today, get to see so much opportunity for transformation that I am so excited to actually still be able to participate in technology. And I'm thrilled to be on this panel because I'm on a lot of panels, but they don't all quite look just like this. So this is really fun as we celebrate Women's History Month.
I agree, very fun. Okay, so before we start our questions, I do have a poll for the audience. I think it's going to pop up magically. The question is, what's been the biggest obstacle to scaling AI so far? And there are 4 choices. Is it proving ROI? Is it data and infrastructure readiness, governance and risk concerns, and then adoption, whether it's people or culture? So it should pop up. It popped up on my screen, so hopefully it popped up on everybody else's. Go ahead and click your favorite answer, and then again, as we kind of go through this discussion, if you have questions or comments or anything, you type them into the chat. I'll definitely get to them by the end, but potentially as we're going along. So we look forward to your participation. Okay, so here we go. The first question I have is, we're hearing a lot about AI entering a more mature phase. So I want to see if you agree, and then what does that actually mean from your perspective? Bridget, I'm going to start with you. What does that mean, and do you agree?
I do. We just had a great conversation about this at work yesterday, because we were talking about how our LinkedIn feeds and news feeds look so different, probably from other sectors. So I encourage everybody to go on their family members or friends' LinkedIn to get a dose of reality every now and then, because it's constant AI in my feed, right? And we all live in different algorithms right now. That said, so according to my feed, we're like very mature. Not true. I would say yes, more mature. We are moving from the talks of Gen AI to agentic. But the truth is, if you're feeling behind as a business, you're probably not. Most businesses are behind, like everything. It still feels like a lot of dental floss and duct tape. So I do feel we're mature in the sense that people are using it as real people. We've moved beyond pilots, there's actual implementation at companies. That said, when I think we look 5 years from now, when we look back at this moment, this isn't going to feel mature at all. And I can't help but wonder, right now we're having AI mimic how humans work and what humans do so much. And I think there's another opportunity there to see what AI can do on AI's own terms. And so I look forward to that as the next phase of maturity. Fern has seen this in a lot of different systems, so I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely think that we are maturing, but Bridget, to layer on to what you're saying, we're at the tip of the iceberg, right? Think about, the iceberg being this big, huge mass below, and we're at the top, and haven't even scratched the surface on all of what AI is going to do in business, personally and professionally. So I do think we have matured. I think the speed of which we'll continue to mature will be much faster, because of the technology, because of the adoption. I think is going to be greater. I think we'll really see maturity tick up. I guess I think about that maturity model. There's a capability maturity model when things are repeatable and are getting from that POC to really, okay, now we can repeat this and do it at scale, then I think we're really getting to mature. So, and also, my point of view is on this one, until we are fundamentally think about our business processes in an AI mindset, that's when we'll really be mature. So yes, we are taking it, but just think about email. Do you remember email like what, 30 years ago? And how slow it took to adopt, right? And now like email is what? If email goes down in any organization, it's like stop the forces. So I think we'll have the same thing over time.
Joyce, what have you seen from our clients at Gap?
It's interesting, just to hit on what both Bridget and Fern said. I don't think it's mature at all. Like, I don't even think we've even begun the first stage of maturity. I do think that there's, as Bridget said, I wake up every single day going, I'm behind, I'm behind, I'm behind. I get let's see, I think I get 6 different AI newsletters about new announcements that happened in the last 24 hours every day. And then I have AI summarize those and tell me which of those are important and how it can impact Gap. So I do realize that most of our clients are not where we are, where they are we're on the leading edge of agentic and, what are the newest tools coming out and how do we really help our clients reimagine SaaS applications and legacy applications in the world we're moving to. But I think that's our job. So I think that's kind of where we have to stay. I think our clients, they've moved past when everybody remembered it wasn't very long ago. It was actually post-COVID where people are like, oh, this is a new Google search engine. No, it's not. It's not that. Like, so we've certainly moved well past that. But I think people are just beginning to think about, oh, there is a different way to work. And I can have agents do work and I can be the human in charge of everything and we should talk about how important that is kind of as we go through these questions. But I think most of the commercial world, except for the, bleeding edge guys, are just now starting to think about, what does it mean to have an AI first mindset? And most of them don't even have it. If you ask them, they have no definition for that. So we're before mature, we're still beginning to begin.
I agree. Okay, so the next question, Bridget, I'm going to pitch this one to you. We see that leaders are under pressure to prove value really fast while also building for the long term. So how do you balance short-term ROI expectations with implementing AI systems that won't age poorly?
I love this question because last year, I feel that this question reflects the past few months. There was a period last year where leadership was more open to longer strategic, classic sort of business consulting, workflow analysis, coming up with ratings of prioritizations and implementation. And something shifted that I saw like late last year, early this year, where they're like, we just got to start using it now. We just got to start using it now. So what we've done at DEPT is parallel path, quick implementations, proven implementations of things we know works. For example, AI for copy generation or translation. And I'll get back to that in a minute. But you still have to do the work of understanding where it's going to make the most sense and choose the systems according to your process and your needs and your priorities. But I do want to talk about also in that question, expectations, because what we're finding is it's really important at first to like set the expectations. Brands often will come and say, we want to see a reduction in cost savings, but they can't tell us right now. They actually don't know how much it does cost to do the creative for a campaign. They actually don't know how long it takes to do translation. So some of our work still is benchmarking and then proving out the ROI, but it's very hard to do that without the benchmarking. And then I would say, in terms of systems aging out, I struggle with this concept, and I feel like Fern and Joyce are going to have some great insights here because I think of if you've ever been to a casino, the old school ones where you could bet on there's this like old school vintage racetrack, and the horse goes ahead, and the next one goes ahead.
Oh yeah,
And that's where AI tech feels like you can place your bet on OpenAI, and then Claude comes out, but you know that OpenAI is going to come ahead again. And so I would say what you're really doing is you're placing your bet on that you're changing how you're going to work in the future. You're placing your bet on how people are going to work. And frankly, just like any other transformation, things get upgraded. You're not on demandware still. You've moved to Shopify or Salesforce, and those are evolving. Your Adobe CRM is evolving. Always systems evolve and change, and the best CMS or the best OMS changes. And I don't think AI systems are going to be any different. So I'll leave it at that. I'd love to hear what Fern and Joyce have to say there.
I'll add this, from an ROI perspective, and I can just speak to before I left PepsiCo last year, they leaned in to say we're going fully co-pilot. And without even knowing the ROI, they made a big bet. And I think sometimes you have to make big bets to get the ROI and just say we're pivoting and we're going here. Now, granted, it's with a major behemoth called Microsoft. So like the risk of that failing is fairly slim. So, I think when it comes to the ROI, organizations want to see, I think we talked about this before, points on the board, and they want to see wins, right? And so, part of the challenge is some of this doesn't have a hard ROI or doesn't have it up front, and it's going to take a while to mature. So yeah, I think the ROI question is going to be interesting. It's going to definitely change over the next few years, but it's going to take a while to mature to get there too as well.
So Fern, as we talk about that, kind of what things are at risk and making big bets, what kind of AI projects do you think are most at risk as budgets are tightening?
So I honestly, I don't think AI is at risk because of budgets. I think AI is at risk if you don't have a strategy. So if you're just out there willy-nilly just trying to put in cool tech with, out understanding what the business problem is and what the strategy is going to impact it, then yeah, I think the money is going to dry up. But I'll tell you, especially in large organizations, there are funds in the center that you can find for whatever you can prove will add value to the business. So these orphan projects out there that have no owner, no accountability, no KPIs against them, even if they're soft, but something measurable, that's going to fail. That's going to fail, in my opinion. So I've worked in a Fortune 50 organization long enough to know when you can prove the business case and you can tie it to how it's going to fix a problem or a process or revise a strategy, money will avail itself. So I think we have to put the same business-minded lens on why are we doing this versus, oh my God, DeepSeek is here. Let's go. Oh my God. Manus is here. Oh my God. The next thing is right. That's just that I think the appetite for that is going to be very low.
Waning a bit.
Yeah, let me add on. This is going to sound heretical, I know. So we're all software engineers, so don't anyone throw anything at me. We really have to change the mindset of engineering, because one of the ways that we measured things in the past was how long is that going to last, right? So you like, I'm going to rewrite this application in this new technology, and it's going to last for the next 10 years, and that's going to be awesome. That is gone. In fact, some of my guys, like, we've been working so hard for the past 3 years on getting our engineers to be what we call autonomous engineers. They are super AI heavyweights. One of the first things, like, we continue to preach is it doesn't matter what the tool is. Like, we have to have tools approved by security, and they have to be compliant, and so they are authorized. But it may be Claude this week, and it might be Cursor next week, and it might be something else I don't know about, as long as IT approves it. That's it. But they came to me and said, "Hey, Joyce, we're building this case to build these agents because it's really going to help us, and we're trying to figure out how long it's going to last." I'm like, "Y'all, they're not going to last like that. Forget that. That's not even part of it. Can we get great value right now? Because, by the way, there's some companies that are worth $700 billion writing agents. They're bigger. They're bigger than we are. We'll probably be using their agents at some point. But for right now, we're learning how to do all of these things and getting great value out of them. But the time, it used to be, okay, well, it took me, a year to rewrite this application. Now it's like, well, it might take me a few weeks. So we have to start thinking about technical debt, and, let's put stuff out there that has great value. But if we need to rebuild it, we'll rebuild it. That'll take a very short amount of time, and we'll go. And that's just a whole different way for everyone to think about. Not going to be forever. None of these tools are going to be forever. I don't even know if it's going to be called agentic next year. I don't know. This is what
every month it changes, for sure.
Yeah.
Let me just add one thing onto that. This is going to really pressure test agile.
Yes, it is. Yay.
I mean, right? Agile is going, if you're not in agile and able to pivot and quickly and fail fast and then move on, you're sunk.
Yes. One of the most important skills. Like, we have to go back. We all keep talking about tools. It's really about the people, and then being able to solve complex problems, be agile, be strategic thinkers, know how to collaborate, know how to communicate. That is the thing that's going to make this thing work or fail. And which I still love. It's still human plus AI, not just AI.
Yeah, I think, like, Fern brought up the strategy piece and Joyce brought up the human mindset. Without both of those, it will fail. If you just say, hey, start using this tool without doing the cultural work and without doing the strategic work, that's where the failure is.
Yeah.
Agreed. So we've talked about strategy, we've talked about the ROI. Cost savings are the easiest to measure, but rarely the most strategic. So what non-financial signals tell you if an AI investment is actually working, or if it's kind of quietly failing? And then if it fails, what typically breaks, maybe between month 1 and year 2? Bridget, any ideas on that?
Sure. I'm going to loosely quote somebody here, and I don't know who said this. I feel like maybe it was Steve Jobs. No great company was ever built on cost savings. So when we're looking at cost savings or time savings, I surely hope that it's for a reinvestment into other strategic things. Really, what's going to build great brands is a differentiated point of view, a great product, an understanding of the customer. And so that I think is also where AI can help. Like we're really working now on like data-driven marketing, data-driven creative, because you'll go into a business and you'll see like they have a very robust data analytics practice, but somehow that is not a cycle that's feeding the brief of the next campaign. So even right there, having AI help with that, having AI help with A/B testing, informing results. So I would look to, is it driving better conversion? Is it driving better reach? Is it driving better engagement? All of the typical KPIs. And then what fails between month one and year two, I would say year two, by the way, was a daunting. I'm going to be honest, in the year two, I feel like some of the things we've implemented were in year one. I see failure when, again, we go back to the previous question. The teams aren't using things. They haven't been educated. There's understandable, when you have AI leaders out there saying this is going to change humanity and everybody's going to lose their job, that makes our jobs harder. Like I think everybody on this panel believes that AI should be human. The human should be in the loop. It's an augmentation. It's a way of redefining work, but I don't think anybody on this panel is looking for everybody to lose their job. But when there's press like that, it makes it very hard culturally for people to want to use it and adopt it. And then it could be that there's just like the wrong tool, the wrong system, because we didn't do the strategic homework on what makes sense for their workflow, what makes sense for how they work. Which I want to add is sometimes not a new AI. Like sometimes it is a new AI tool. For instance, Jasper has been great for us for translation and content creation. But sometimes it's like, hey, look over here. Did you know that Confluence and Jira already have these AI tools built in them? So
Right.
you'll also see more of just using the same tools, now AI augmented and enabled.
Yeah, I love that you're speaking my love language, talking about marketing. We've seen so many great things with HubSpot and other tools. What about other industries? Are there things that Joyce or Fern that maybe y'all have seen regarding non-financial signals in other industries?
I would add this one, Joyce. I'll just one point that I'll turn it over to you. I think change management still becomes critical, and if we don't have effective change management, regardless of the industry, then that's when this fails. And so I think we tend to forget that that's still needed in how we deploy these capabilities. And if we're going to drive the effective adoption and you don't have a change management plan, so I think that's my one point is I think that's across all industries.
Yeah,
Joyce?
agreed.
Yeah, I'm in that. I am definitely on that bandwagon. In fact, I read it, y'all. This is terrifying. I read from a neuroscientist a few weeks ago. I read a report that said when you send people to education, they lose 90% of what they've learned in a day. Or I think 70% in a day, 90% in a week. So, training is not the answer. Fern said it. And what we've seen is in AI projects, that are failing across all industries. It's about the change management piece. It's not about the technology. And that there is nothing new about that over the last 100 years. Like anything, it's always about how are you really getting the people to embrace what you're trying to do, because in the end, that will make it work or not work. So there's lots of opportunities to do that correctly, but most people jump to the technology and say, hey, I got this very cool new tool. And then, a year later, no results.
Yeah, so let's poke on that a little bit more. So many leaders say that some AI initiatives, I think we all agree, they fail because of people or they stall because of people, not necessarily because of the technology. So what have y'all learned as leaders about driving adoption, especially when there's fear about losing jobs when there's mandates like you have to do this, use AI or else. How do you handle those things? Fern, what have you seen?
Yeah, I think you need to make sure that people understand that they're being upgraded with AI. It is not a replacement because and Joyce talked about this, and I think we all believe in the human element of AI is going to be an enhancer. So I think it's creating that safe space to learn about how AI can be used in their workplace. And so one is make sure people feel safe that I can use this and not lose my job. People can feel two, I'm being upgraded with this capability that's going to help me more effectively do my work. And then, quite honestly, the leaders have to model it as well. So if you're dictating, right, hey, you've got to do this, but your leadership's not also supporting that, then folks are going to be like, okay, well, you're expecting me to leverage this, but you're not doing it yourself. That doesn't work. That doesn't work in the workplace. So I think it's got to be top down and bottoms up engagement in order for people to really understand, okay, I can embrace this and wow, this is really cool and wow, this is really fun. So to that end, sometimes we're going to have to celebrate it and we're going to have to celebrate the adoption, the embracing, so people can see using this is a positive in my workplace. Because I already feel like people are using it personally. So now how do I bridge that gap between, all right, now I'm going to bring it into the workplace and how do I do that in a safe, protected way at work? So those are the things I think that are important to get people to not think it's taken away from them. But man, this is kind of cool. It's helping me operate as a tool 10 times faster.
Yeah, and I like the idea of, do as I do, not necessarily just do as I say.
Right.
Joyce, what have you seen at Gap? I know we've made some big internal transformations. What have you seen?
Yeah, I would say anyone that wants to do this, we've all said you have to be intentional. And I will tell you from experience, I have 500 plus engineers, but it's not, as Fern just said, it's not really just about engineering. Every single person at Gap has to be autonomous, agentic, and that's from the CFO actually builds amazing agents. She's not technical, she's phenomenal at really leading, but everyone on the executive team, everyone in management, everyone in finance, HR, it doesn't matter, in addition to engineering. And we actually have a change management framework that we kind of follow because we know how important this is. For those of you that are leaders out there, here's what won't work. As the leader, if you just run around to all the offices and tell people y'all got to be AI, get going, you could do that 100 times. That is definitely not going to work. I certainly do those things too. No, that doesn't work. But we have, training, we have buddies, we have particular coaches for the projects to go in and help kind of consult on how can you, use AI on these particular projects. So every possible way that we can, in addition to, Fern said it, let's make it fun. Those of us that started off in engineering, the very first time we got a program to compile and run, oh my God, we've never been happier in our whole life. We're like, look at this. AI is that all over again in wherever you are in your career. You're like, this is the coolest thing ever. So we have engineers showcase things every 2 weeks. They get to publish and, get internal press on kind of cool things they done. And they're excited to do it on, look, this thing's amazing what I just did. So I think we have to bring that fun element in and show them how it helps their career. We're like, hey, you are going to have a great career. If you do these things, you are going to be invaluable. So you got to do all of those things if you want the human to say, hey, I'm excited about this. It's fun. I'm learning new stuff and it helps my career. Then you win.
And the excitement, I think, is contagious, which is a good thing. So let's slightly pivot a little bit. Bridget, I think you said something earlier about, sometimes it may not be AI. So there's growing recognition that not every problem deserves necessarily an AI solution. So what questions can leaders ask to kind of avoid overbuilding, overspending? What have you seen in that area?
Right. I'm going to answer that, but I just want to thank Joyce for reminding me of the excitement. Because you can, like, day to day, you kind of forget. And it's like 2 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm so bored with e-commerce. And then I was like, oh, this is fun and interesting. And yeah, so that's, it's like, it is a breath of fresh air into our work. And so in terms of, oh God, will you remind me?
Yeah, of course. About not every problem necessarily needing
Yes.
an AI solution.
So we did a project, a client came to us and they said, would you please look at our email workflow and tell us how AI can help? And we went and we found that they have a bunch of different products and a bunch of different product teams. And we found that they had 17 different workflows for like 10 products. And so a lot of our work was like, hey, first of all, let's just unify the workflow. And we found 60 ways to improve it, and only 19 of those ways involved AI. And the way we did that was really meet with people, understand their day-to-day jobs to be done, understand the key friction points, understand where automation made sense, where 100% human made sense, where a combination made sense. And then we found like simple things like we were like, at first, we're like, oh, we can use AI to flag this. And we're like, wait a second, we can flag things now without AI. Like,
Right.
we don't need AI. So if you find yourself, just ask yourself first, is there a way to do this particular piece without AI? Is it simple automation? Is it SQL? Is it like data? And I think when you do the work, that will become very apparent and deep in the process consulting part of it.
Yeah, agree. Joyce, any feedback on that too?
No, I do think it's humorous. Like when this all started to blow up over the, kind of 2-3 years ago when ChatGPT kind of hit the world, the biggest fight I had was with my internal engineering teams who were predictive analytics people, machine learning people, like they were data scientists, they were heavy duty, some of them PhDs, and they're like, this thing they're talking about, not AI. And I'm like, I know, but many of our customers, I get it. Many of our customers have budget that they can go spend, and they have budget and needs to have the letters A and I on it. So if we're go help them with all these things and they want to call it AI, that's up that's up to them. So, but I completely agree with when you get underneath the covers, you can call it whatever you want to. There's so much that can be done with automation and just eliminating bad processes. It's kind of like when we talked to, previously about people don't know what things cost. Many people have no idea what the process really is on this thing. And if I get them to like just tell me what the process is, they realize, oh, that's a very bad process. So, fixed process, do simple automation will get you a lot of the way there, and then use AI for what AI is good at. So,
Right.
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
fun.
So I have one more question, but I want to let our audience know if you have any questions, again, feel free to write them in the chat. Last question from me. Fern, I'm going to go to you first. Looking ahead 2 years or less, what mindset shift do you think will matter most for leaders who are investing in AI?
Great question. And I know that we didn't talk about this in the prep, but I just thought about it as we were having this conversation. I had a brain fart, if you will. Do you remember? I want to say it's back like circa 2010-ish or sometime, yeah, 2010. SAP came out with this slogan with runs on SAP, and then everything like runs on SAP, and it became this whole big campaign, a marketing campaign. I think it's going to be runs with AI. And so everything is going to run with AI, and that's going to be the mind shift change I see in the next couple of years is, this business and organizational fundamentally figuring out everything's got to run with AI. It's going to be embedded at the beginning, not like so which one has an AI solution? No, all these solutions are going to have an AI component with it. And so, how do we build that as a product, not as a project? So, the thinking of, I've got to productize this, not look at like, oh, we're going to have this special AI project here and a special AI project there. No, we're going to have to like blend it in completely into the work that we're doing. So, that's what I see. And then I do see our leadership skills changing. So, there's a book that I'm always pushing out there. It's called Leaders Make the Future. It's the third edition by Bob Johansen and Gabe Cervantes. I invite everyone to go pick up a copy because it talks about agentic and augmented and how all of these things will impact how we lead. But the most important, and they give you like 10 characteristics. So guys, go out there and get the book. It's a really good read. But here's the one thing that I thought was super interesting in what they talked about leadership skills over the next couple of years. And they're not talking about 2 years, they're thinking about 5, 10 years out. Let's have a safe calming space where you have 1 or 2 hours a day, no technology, and
Mhm.
teams just learn how to work and communicate with each other absent of the technology. And I thought that was really kind of interesting that as much as we're pushing this, it's let's not forget the human element is still paramount in how we work with each other. And I mentor a lot of early career folks, and I'm like, hey guys, we gotta have like when I get together my mentoring sessions, it's like phones down. Like, look at me, let's talk. Like, let's have a conversation. Let's work through conflict. Let's all those things. So I think processes will change. We'll be running with AI. Leadership skills will have to morph, but we still have to have a human element.
It's almost like right before the webinar started, we were talking about going outside, seeing the stars, touching grass.
Yeah.
Like you still have to be not just a leader for AI, but just a good leader in general and all those fundamentals of that. Joyce, what have you seen as far as mind shift changes?
Yeah, I'll go back to the human, but I do want to add on this non-technology. I'm such an advocate of this and really try and encourage my team, even just as individuals, that we love to get together. I know people like, oh no, y'all actually come to the office. I'm like, yes, because we like each other and we like to have lunch and stuff together. So but just as individual human beings, like you should take an hour or two out of your day that you don't have a phone in your hand.
Got it.
And whatever that means, also not watching television. But yeah, so no screen thing for an hour or two because your brain needs time to think
Mhm.
and recharge. And I think, and I'm guilty of this, we all get so wrapped up in, I got to listen to one more podcast. I've got, 14 more articles to read. I got this book. I have 3 books on AI sitting on my desk. So all of those things, but still my brain actually can think its own creative thoughts if I just give it some blank space. And so I think, as I know we're all technologists, we should be pushing hard for all the people around us, like just take an hour where you're not doing that. But I think the biggest mind shift is hopefully a return to this focus on what we talked about, the most important kind of people. We call them soft skills, but they're not soft skills. The most important skills of complex problem solving, strategic analysis, kind of collaboration, communication, ethics, integrity. That really, as how we all do as a society, that is going to be kind of the key thing. If we do that, then we could say, how does this unbelievably powerful technology that's revolutionizing the world, how can we use it for good? So that's, I think, the mind shift that we have to make. That's not about teaching programmers syntax, obviously, anymore. It's about making them really strong architects and leaders of the future we want to have.
Yeah. Love that.
So I do have one question so far from the audience. It's from Patty, and she says, what's the difference between or from organizations that are already capturing value to the businesses using AI and ones that are still testing? So Fern, I think Patty actually may be a
I
friend.
know, Pat. So, so Patty and I work together at PepsiCo. In fact, she was just on my podcast last week, my Fern and Friends podcast. So you'll hear more from her in the next couple of days as we drop that episode. But to answer the question here, capturing value versus testing is whether or not again, back to do you have a strategy or not? Do you have a problem to solve, right? So if you're trying to prove value to the nth degree, I do think you're probably a little bit behind on that versus saying, hey, I've got to get into the waters and test this out and find opportunities to fail fast. And then move forward from a POC, from a concept to a POC to something you're going to actually implement. So I feel like it's a strategy and understanding what problems am I solving for my business is the difference between those who are standing and staring at the water versus those who are taking the swim.
Okay, I love that. I have another question from Colton. He says, I work in healthcare, mental health services, and one major concern with AI implementation is ensuring these tools are used ethically. This often comes up when discussing topics like diagnosis, insurance approvals, how can we ensure we don't lose the human component when implementing these tools, especially when ethics are concerned?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Colton. And I think what you've seen a little bit on the panel as we've discussed, as we're thinking about how AI is changing things, we're also realizing more and more what it means to be human. And I think that's a gift that AI has given us. And um, the governance, I mean, I have concerns. I think we all have seen in the news cases where AI has not helped people's mental health.
Mhm.
And so what we can do for governance, I was recently on a project. I think it's now out in the wild, so I can talk about it. Using Microsoft Copilot, actually, the Ad Council has launched an experience where you can talk about firearm safety. And in that, we're very careful to make sure there were guardrails if anybody was indicating harm to themselves, harm to others, or any kind of mental crisis, immediately rerouting them to call a number. It didn't have to be 911. There are other numbers for health, so that they could explore that. And it's really up to the team to put in those governance rules. It's also a reason why I think in health and finance, looking at the small language models versus the large language models is a good way to go. There's stricter privacy, there's stricter governance. It's actually probably like when people go with Microsoft for default, Microsoft is known for better privacy and security in that realm. So I think that's another thing to think about. You don't have to start with an LLM for your use case. You can start with one that's going to be more refined for your industry. And though it is up to your team to put in those governance and guardrails.
Yeah,
Can't
and
do without it.
yeah, and I would just add, uh, again, that we all use this word human in the loop. So, for example, with performance evaluations, AI can do some great things. Like we have, agents that'll take everyone's feedback and kind of summarize it and write some reports on it. But at the end of the day, the decisions are all made by managers. Those are human being managers. And they're like, yep, thank you for helping me write this report. No, I don't agree with this. I'll add this part. So it can be a great kind of efficiency tool for them. But at the end of the day, where human beings are involved, especially on anything as important as therapy, like one would advocate for, yeah, that's a job for a human.
Mm-hmm.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay, well, ladies, thank you so much. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So we are almost at time. For the audience, we are going to have a short survey that will pop up on your screen to rate the webinar. But I just want to say, Bridget, Fern, Joyce, thank you all. This has been a great conversation, and I really appreciate all three of you being here today.
Thank you so much for
the
having me.
opportunity.
Guys.
Okay. If anybody has any more questions, you can visit our website, ask us questions. You can reply to the email that you received, and we look forward to carrying this conversation forward even more. Joyce, Fern, Bridget, thank you all.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you,
y'all.
Laura.
Bye-bye.
Bye.